It's your man Calvin Ruffin II, aka Rasul Muhammad, creator of LDTV. I just want to touch base real quick and say that LDTV is a YouTube channel, but not for economic purposes. We're not trying to establish a channel to make money. LDTV is actually maintained by something much higher than that. So I want to make that clear as people learn more about us. If you end up getting some kind of invitation from LDTV for a 60-minute piece to do on you, that's us appreciating you, acknowledging what you've done in your particular craft, and wanting to give you a 60-minute documentary piece from us to you as your flowers. And with that said, let me get some sound, speed, and action.
My years of public life, I have never profited from public service. I've earned every cent. And in all of my years of public life, I have never obstructed justice. And I think, too, that I can say that in my years of public life, that I welcome this kind of examination, because people have got to know whether or not their president is a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
And D.C. basically is a very political place here, the White House, the monument. So basically, as far as music is concerned, this D.C. sound is called the gogo. It's the first music that we have had here in a long time to put Washington, D.C. on the map for far as establishing a sound, the D.C. sound, the gogo.
The capital of the nation, there's a brand new sound sensation. It's gonna be a revelation, gonna show you what I mean. They call it the EU freeze, play it pretty as you please. Beating on the drum keys, rocking on the go-go scene. Yeah.
We're in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. There's an innovative sound, spreading rapidly. The go-go sound equivalent by none. Recognition was scarce, but now the time has come. The USMC and I enjoy Trouble Funk, EU, and Red and the boys, The White House, the Capitol, the monument, the other side of the district seems irrelevant. 70% black, the city's habitation. Love both circulating through the population. Our problems are neglected in a city such as this. To half of the country, we do not exist. The situations are annoying. And who's going to solve them? Have you noticed D.C. has a serious drug problem? What's our destination? Many are in doubt. I guess drugs appear to be the only way out. We've been left stranded. Reagan's not concerned. To a life of crime is how some have turned. But we must hold safe.
Definitely get what you need. Special dedication going out to everybody because everybody is special. We got my man Catfish Mayfield in the house with us tonight. Also, Yo Moon Man. Mr. Ernie Hill is outside. We're waiting on you to come on.
I have my co-host, Calvin Ruffin II, and Mr. Boo Jones, and we are the DMVERS. All right, so this evening we have a very special guest, and she's a very interesting guest, and she is an author of a very special book
the Go-Go Speaks, and we would just like to bring her in. So let's just get right to it. Welcome, Jill Greenleigh.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. Well, let's get right to it, Jill. So I have several questions for you. So let's get into it. Jill, so where are you from?
I was born in DC, grew up in downtown Silver Spring, right on the DC line. And I am currently still in the DC area.
Oh, okay. So what schools did you attend out there in downtown Silver Spring?
So I went to private school. I went to a school called Town and Country Day School. And then I went to Woodward High School out in Rockville. And then I went to Salisbury for 2 years, and then Towson for 2 years, graduated from Towson, then moved back to the DC area.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what'd you take up in college?
My degree is actually communications, and I have a minor in political science.
So that's mass media?
Yeah, basically. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So did you study journalism somewhere in there?
So I was always a strong writer throughout school and everything. And right after I'm trying to think which came first. I think right after I graduated, I started working for a DC street magazine paper called Straight from the Street, which was owned by Malcolm Alexander and Mark Bredsfelder. And then soon I became the senior editor. And after that, I started writing for Rap Masters and Word Up magazines and Dance Music Authority. And then I left the industry for a little while and came back and had a column in examiner.com, which was an online platform. I was the DC Local Music Examiner is what the title was. So I covered all things DC music. So, of course, go-go was number one for me. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting because I was curious, like, how did you get to this journalism setting about yourself? So you have a good big history for journalism, then I see.
Yeah, journalism and management. It was easy for me to do the journalism part because I developed strong relationships with people. I was a band manager. I think I was a band manager before I was a journalist. I managed a band in Montgomery County called Legacy Band and Show. And then I worked with Little Benny and the Masters. I've worked with a lot of different people, a lot of different times. And most recently, I managed Godfather and Friends. I put together Godfather and Friends with Mark Lawson, Godfather, formerly of Rare Essence. And I just stepped down about a year and a half ago.
So you got a strong history in go-go. So I guess my next question was like, did you ever attend the go-go's?
Yes, I did.
So do you remember like your first go-go you went to?
My first go-go, probably, I can't remember if I had gone to one of the schools first, maybe Blair, because that was my old neighborhood and I still had a lot of friends. I had strong ties in the Blair area, but it may have actually been the Black Hole. Yeah. So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and then,
That's a pretty good spot.
Club and, just various places. When I was managing Legacy, I utilized a lot of the recreation centers, the rec centers in Montgomery County, but I also had
Right.
Cherries. So I was very familiar with Cherries as well.
Oh, in Southeast. Okay, right where I'm from. Okay. Wow. Okay. So you do have history. I was just curious. Okay. So I'm just curious, like, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Boo Jones in a second. But so I'm just curious, like, one day you were just like sitting around, and what made you just decide to write a book on go-go?
To be honest with you, I have loved go-go probably since I was 11 years old. I'm 56 now. And so the school that I went to, Town and Country, I was fortunate enough to be able to have door-to-door transportation to the school, which was in Wheaton. And because I grew up on the DC line, the bus picked up the children in the upper Northwest area and then drove us to the school. So one of the older kids always had like a radio or, something like that. And the first time I ever heard Bustin' Loose, that was kind of it, and it just was something different. And then from that point on, this is bad to say, but I always took money off my dad's dresser because he would leave his bills up on the dresser and I would go up to the record store. It was like a pilgrimage to the Mecca of music every Saturday.
Okay.
I would walk up and get the latest, 12 inches, or I would catch the Metro to Douglas Records. That was my favorite. We had Super Records up the street from me. They didn't have a lot of go-go, but Douglas Records surely did. So, yeah.
So you fell in love instantly then.
Right. And then as I got older and then my experiences went on, and I had done, I had always made sure that go-go was in Rap Masters and Word Up. I was tasked with doing the Washington, Baltimore regional music report for Rap Masters, which is funny because even though we're 29 miles apart, our musical tastes are probably 5,029 miles apart. So I was being fed the Baltimore stuff from, there was a DJ back then named Miss Tony and Frank Ski. And then in DC, I was here, so I could get all the go-go information. So I was able to, put it all together. So what made me write the book was the fact that I had I had so many articles. And they took the platform down, examiner.com. And I'm like, you know what? No one's ever going to be able to go online and Google me and get this information. And I'm like, I might as well just put some of those important evergreen articles together. Evergreen meaning it doesn't matter if it's now or 25 years from now, it's still going to have the same message. So I did that. But what I did was I also paired it with new interviews with different people. I after Shorty Tim passed away, I guess it was last January 2022, I was like, time is really going by. So I started doing this spotlight thing on Facebook, and I would take somebody who kind of flew under the radar, like Shorty Tim. His main thing that he was always sad about is that, you know, he was really a true pioneer, but no one ever talked about him in circles of, like, in the same conversation as White Boy from Rare Essence, or even Donnell from Rare Essence, and, you know, some T-Bone from Trouble Funk. His name wasn't there. So I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spotlight somebody who's kind of flown under the radar every day. Just like I did with Shorty Tim. And it was getting a really good response. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm doing a book. I'm going to do the book. I had started the book 7 years ago, and then I put it down. I guess, I don't know if I didn't have confidence, or like, I don't know, maybe I was lazy. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but after Shorty Tim passed away, it was really time to do it. And so I did.
You know, Jill, speaking of Shorty Tim, I actually grew up with Shorty Tim as a kid. You know, so we played together on the basketball court, on the field, and things like that out in Eastgate. And it's funny that you said you managed a band called Legacy, because when we was young, Tim Dum also had a band, and most of the people coming out of Eastgate, called Legacy.
Yeah, I heard there were several legacies.
Yeah, they had one too. And I actually heard of the two. Oh, it was two legacies. I did hear about your group, two coming up. And I'm one of the ones the radar didn't hit either, so I understand. And that's what we do here at the DMVERS and on our individual shows, like the Boo Jones show and the Jerome Kennedy show. We go into, you know, the soil and get those who people like forgot about. It was part of the foundation.
Yeah.
You know, so we do that, and that's a good thing. I think that's when I first seen you do the spotlight. I tried to contact you because we got the same spirit about that. But I was under the radar.
It's always about giving people their flowers while they're still here to enjoy them. You know, it's crazy because we only see people at funerals now. We don't just see our friends or our colleagues in this industry just out and about. You know, I don't know. I mean, maybe because we're older and we, you know, people have families and things like that, but you got to let people know that their contributions meant something. It's so important. So I try to do that.
You know, I think that is absolutely true. You know, one of the things that me and Kevin talk about a lot is, you know, examining ourselves on that, because, you know, for a long time we had barbershop talk. We could talk about other people need to do this and they need to do that. And man, it's sad because if all of us took the mirror and put it in front of ourselves, the world would be a better place. And what you think about that?
Absolutely. What a concept, right? Something so easy, but we just don't do it. Maybe we're just afraid to examine who we really are as people, and we don't want to look at our flaws, you know, but we're all flawed. We all have flaws. You know, we may look good on paper, but we know who we really are.
Yes. Well, now you talked about Silver Springs. I got ask you a couple questions now. So we got that commentary part about, but you from Silver Springs area growing up. David Chappelle also from that area. Did you know him?
I didn't know him. I think he grew up in Summit Hills, possibly. I know Tony Woods, the comedian, grew up in Summit Hills. Tony went to Blair. And so many people came out of Silver Spring. It's amazing.
Tommy Davidson? What about Tommy Davidson?
Didn't he go to BCC? I believe he went to BCC, which meant
I think so.
that he lived somewhere on the East-West Highway corridor. So
right.
Trinidad Northeast, though. You know, he He was in DC pretty much, you know, after that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Tom.
But what I
So
want to say to her is, go ahead, boy, you finish? Go ahead.
Ashley Larry actually grew up down the street from me.
Okay.
And him and Dave is real tight. That's like his best friend. So that's why I mentioned the connection, you know.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: as a little girl, growing up, going to the private school, was you ever drawn when you first found about go-go? Were you kind of like drawn towards that, you know, because you're out there, you're in seclusion in a way, going to the private schools, but
Not at
this is
all.
yeah,
So I was very, very fortunate that I went to a very diverse private school.
okay,
We had everybody in that school. And, you know, the cool thing, first of all, I'm still best friends with three of the girls that I grew up with. One was from kindergarten, one from fourth grade, and another from fourth grade. And they are Black ladies. And but we had everyone in the school, and it was so cool because we had the opportunity. We could either go outside for recess and play, or we could stay in one of the classrooms and listen to records. There was a record player. And so, I mean, I always had the latest and greatest, you know, Parliament Funkadelic, whoever, whatever. That was
Whoa,
it.
whoa, look at here.
I was that girl. Yeah, I was that girl.
you was the plug. You was the plug when
Yeah.
it came to the music. You was the plug, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I really was.
Wow, that's interesting. Did you ever go to the Cap Center to see Parliament?
I have seen Parliament. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I had a question real quick. So, how did you do your research? Like, was it going to the Go-Go's or just sitting down with band members? I mean, how did you do your research to come up with all the stuff for the book?
Well, if you think about it, I've been around for 35 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
So it was very easy for me to just pick up the phone and call, or, you know, with email, I mean, and Facebook Messenger and stuff. You know, I put the call out. The first thing I decided I was going to do is ask anybody on my timeline. I think I posted in the GoGo report as well. What is GoGo to you? And who's your favorite band? And so I have like 107 people, I think, in this book, from musicians to behind the scenes people to fans, managers, you know, saying what go-go means to them and who their favorite groups were or their favorite group was. And it's funny because there's so many, we know that the go-go is, number one, it's a venue. Number two, it's a culture. And number three, it's a style of music. So everybody views it in a different way. And that's what I loved about it. But a lot of people said that it's home.
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So we usually ask this at the end of the show on my show, but I got to ask you this now. What's your favorite band and why? And if you had a top five, no particular you know, order, what would be your top five of all time?
So my favorite band, probably, I would have to say Rare Essence.
Yeah.
But the golden age of go-go Rare Essence. No offense to the one now, but I have 56-year-old ears, and they're not attuned to what's happening now with that.
That's right.
You know, so we all have our different era that we feel close to, right? So, but I would definitely have to say Rare Essence because of their catalog. I can't think of a bad song that they did. You know what I mean? I can't. But I also love Trouble Funk. I also love EU, and I also love Chuck Brown and the Soul Searchers, you know, for sure. But you know who I'm into right now a lot? It would be the West Mob, which is formerly Mass Extinction, because they've added Charm Force back in the mix, and I'm just brought back to the old days, and that makes me happy. The old days make me happy.
Yeah! Party with it! Day-Day! Hey, give me that Southeast shit right here! Hey! Oh, workout ladies! I see my ladies working out already on! Yeah! Oh, my lovely ladies, I see you! Oh, my goodness! Give me that Southeast shit right here!
So
So certain songs, because I know for myself, I'm just like you in that sense. When you hear certain songs, does it bring back more wonderful times like you was thinking about? You said those 6-year-old ears. What does hearing a certain song, and what song could you think about off the top that brings back a very good time in your life?
I love body moves. Love body moves. I always smile when I hear Bustin' Loose. I'm just trying to think like what Cat in the Hat, anything Little Benny, The King, Mercedes, any of those, anything. But I love EU Freeze.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, and Trouble Funk always makes me happy to hear Trouble Funk too. So, I mean, to be honest with you, if it's go-go, I just feel so happy hearing it. I mean, I listen to a lot of different genres of music. It's funny right now, I'm more into the arena rock, hair metal, like Dokken and, some of these other groups like that, Winger, Faster Pussycat, but I always still listen to go-go. I've always been that person that just loves music, period. It doesn't matter. Go-go's always my first love. I feel like people from DC, and we've been able to drink the water in DC, has something to do with our DNA now. Our heart beats go-go. You know what I mean? So, yeah,
So do you still go out to any of the shows?
Yeah, I think so. I went to see Junkyard and West Mob at Bethesda Blues and Jazz. And a couple weeks before that, I went to go see the Pump Blenders at Oasis, which is a little spot in Gaithersburg. And, if it's something I want to go to, I'll go. I really like outside stuff better. I love the outside, like the Michigan Park, Riggs Park Day, the Emory Heights Day, or, all of that type of thing. I like going to those types of things when you have multiple bands the whole day. I like Black Print. They're relatively new. They're not new.
I heard
They're
about
a lot of
them.
the guys
Yeah,
are pioneers, but I like them.
I heard about them.
Yeah. Archie Beslow. Good
But
stuff.
see, you know,
Why don't
we
you?
have an Alexandria musician legend play with them right now, coming from out of my area.
Who plays with them?
His name is Tony Butler. He plays the bass for him.
Okay.
Yeah, he grew up with my uncle now.
Okay.
So, Jill, I have another question. How many years did it take you to finish this book?
Once I sat down and really got serious and started putting the material together, it took about a year. A little over a year. And that's
Really?
because I ran into some snags. I had an amazing editor, Sarah Godfrey. This book would not be here without her. But she couldn't do the line editing. And so I had to have somebody else do the line editing, and they screwed up everything. I mean, when I tell you they screwed up everything, they were actually from a different country and they don't know our vernacular. So we say y'all. We say y'all every day. You all means y'all. And she changed it to all of you. So everywhere where there was y'all, changed it to all of you. So Chuck Brown is saying, keep what you got until you get what you need. You've got to give a lot just to get what you need. Sometimes all of you, instead of sometimes y'all. So I was furious.
To
and it
all
took
of you.
a long time to unravel all of that.
Yeah.
I had to go back because I had lost confidence in the project and the process. So I had to go back and basically line edit myself.
So let me say this to my colleague, Jerome. You see why it's so important that we got home flavor and drunk the same water, just editing and producing us. And that's the guy who's going to speak next, Mr. Calvin Ruffin II.
Cool. Listen, let me say this to you, right? Listening, I don't want the people watching this to not understand something heavy, right? Your path in this game is so deep. I was just listening, right? Of course, I read some of this in your book already. But that straight from the street newspaper that you mentioned, see, only the real rock solid in this game recognize what you said, you see? Because I used to go over Malcolm's apartment all the time. See, all us writers, man, we was in the same sort of circles, right? Yeah. And for you to mention that, that's a big stamp, man. I want you to stand and respect I have for you saying that, because that's huge. Because there wasn't no go-go swings back then. See, wasn't no Cato Hammond with none of that. That wasn't going on yet. So see, Jill, you saying a story, right, that I want people to honor, man, because you talking about some heavy stuff in this culture and genre that, believe me, the average person, when they hear you say that, it's gonna go right over their head. Straight from the street. What was that? Well, Malcolm was breaking boundaries back then. He needs it. When I did my short film, right, his name is in the credits in that film, because I know who was out here doing what, right? So that's really heavy. When I read in your book, that was one of my opening questions for this, was because I was like, wow, I never knew that about you, right? So when I asked you, like, how did it make you feel, right? Being, we know it's a lot of photos and stuff online now that show that the white presence was involved in go-go in a lot of different ways, right? Especially on that fan side, a lot of us don't know, but cats were going a lot of different places. But how did you feel at that time, right? Let's take you back to straight from the street, though, when you were just beginning. How was that with that whole, yeah?
So straight from the street, the way I got to straight from the street was, you remember Conan, who was on WOL?
Stagnated to the point where radio said, well, I don't know,
radio just wasn't ready for it. Let's put it this way. Go-go music, from Trouble Funk Express to Let's Get Small to Pump Me Up. Chuck Chuck was doing things that we considered R&B. Like Bustin' Loose was not considered a go-go record.
Well, what about We Want Money? We Need Money?
We Need Money was into the air. I'll be honest with you. I'm the one that recorded We Need Money. And even We Need Money didn't have the total go-go connection. But it had the kick, it had the foot, it had funky, tricky foot Rick. But you know, it was missing all the trimmings that really put the final touch as what is explained as go-go.
Right.
You know.
So when Kathy Hughes went to take Conan off the air, we were outraged, right? And so we started a committee, the DC Committee to Save Our Music. And that's where I met Malcolm and Mark. Charles Stevenson, who's a big heavy hitter in go-go, he was involved with that. Tom and Becky from Liaison, they were involved in that. Donnell Floyd was involved in that. There were a lot of people that were involved in that. And that predates the Go-Go Coalition. You know what I'm saying? People think, oh, the Go-Go Coalition. Not knocking it at all. That was absolutely necessary. But what we did with that DC committee to save our, save our music, that was major too. Daryl Brooks let us go to one of the shows at the Capitol Center and get petitions signed. We did a march from Hechinger Mall to WOL and delivered those petitions to Kathy Hughes, and didn't make a difference because she still took it off. But we did something. We mobilized and we tried to do something and try to make something happen. So that's how I got to Straight from the Street. And then when I got to Straight from the Street, you have to remember the groups that were out then. It wasn't just Go-Go, right? You had Public Enemy bursting onto the scene, Run DMC, Cypress Hill, Supercat. I interviewed all of these people. I was in the mix with all of these people. You know, I had to hook up at MCA with Bo Sampson. I had to hook up with Def Jam and Columbia with Thomas Lytle and Mike Archie. They always they made sure I got interviews with whoever I wanted. So, you know, that was pretty cool.
Can you share?
You're right. You're right about the white presence, because let me tell you something. Dave Rubin, one of the top promoters of the time, he was a white guy. Alona Wartovsky, who's one of my mentors, she's also working on a book with Cato and Charles Stevenson right now. I'm really looking forward to reading that. She's a white lady. She has covered Go-Go for the Washington Post, the City Paper, all of that kind of stuff. You have Carol Kirkendall, who is part of G Street Express, CD, Enterprises, or, whatever. She's a white lady working with Daryl Brooks and Gerald Scott.
Can I chime in for 1 second? We talking about the whole qualm of go-go, and we just had a discussion on the DMVERS behind the scenes. We was talking about how they never let certain bands in. Now, we know about the air raids in Maryland. And, you talked about your legacy band coming out of Maryland. But, it's a little touchy with me because I'm from Alexandria originally. And I started Shady Groove, but I wasn't, let me say, I wasn't on the record. So my homeboys took the baton and they made a great record. And then you got the seed of VA Go-Go itself coming out of Alexandria's Ovation Band. And you seem like nobody talks about those pioneers. Because I am one of them, but nobody talks about us though. They like, okay, they're not part of it, but I know I was there, and Ovation played with everybody. They played all over the DMV, and nobody talks about them.
You're right, and I don't know why that is. I can't speak on that. You have groups, from Montgomery County too that never got their just due. You have High Potential, who was the #1 rival of Legacy. They were great band. Gogo Bouncy came out of that band. Eddie Lynn came out of that band. I think people were so genuinely focused on your Chuck Browns and your Rare Essences and Trouble Funks and EUs and, people like that I'm not 100% sure that some of these other bands, and it may also be the venues that they played in. I don't really know. I wasn't into the Virginia side of it, so I don't know who played where.
Yeah, but I know for a fact, and we got, especially Kevin, though, Ovation played in every venue in DC. They played with the Rare Essence. They played with the Trouble Funks. They played with those guys at the High Theaters, the Moonlight Inns, the Cherries. They played at all those places. And even in the venues in Maryland, like Bladenberry High School. They played at all those venues with those bands during that era.
Well, I'll tell you what. People have been on me at this point to write volume 2 of this book, and I will make sure I have more Virginia people in the book, because I failed at representing Virginia really in this book. I can admit that.
But no,
wasn't on the radar.
Thank you for even starting the torch, carrying the torch, because that's the beginning right there. So, and that's why I can come to this platform and talk to you about it, because you picked the torch up, and that's something to be said. And I thank you.
And that's something. So I don't know. Let me see if I can quickly take a moment and just say this. When I wrote the conclusion about this, I really just, I mentioned some of the younger bands that are out now. And I also, I really don't talk about the younger bands, the acronym bands, the UCB, TOB, TCB, like that's not my generation. That's not my era. But I said that I really hope that this book will stimulate somebody else to pick up that torch and write about some of these younger bands that are really carrying this music on their backs at this point. There's this big debate about, is bounce beat go-go? Yeah, it is go-go. And these young people, they're in their 30s and 40s, but they're younger than me. So I can say with certainty, these young people are trying to keep this moving and keep this alive.
Yeah.
Because I feel like kids today, these high schoolers, when we were in high school, that's all we wanted was go-go. These kids today, they don't want that. They want rap. And we have to do something to keep this alive. So this book, my book, is in the MLK library in the People's Archive. So hopefully people will be able to come and look at this 100, 200 years from now and know that there was such a thing as go-go, in case the music itself doesn't continue, which I hope not. I hope somebody will always be able to be innovative and do something and keep it alive.
Jill, quick question. Just a quick question. Did the book make it to the Library of Congress?
Yes, the book is in the Library of Congress. I actually have my...
Okay.
I have my papers. I have my...
Okay. That's important, Jill.
My papers. So excited about. I have my papers.
Now that's saying something, Jill. That's saying something.
Yeah. What I wanted this book to say, I wanted this book to take the 1980s, when the police had this go-go report, and they were staking out the go-go's, looking for violence, blaming violence on go-go, saying that go-go incites violence, and just the bad things associated with it. I wanted them to take it, I wanted this book to take it from then to the fact that Mayor Muriel Bowser signed go-go into law as the official music of DC in February of 2020. So I wanted it to show, okay, it was talked about as this extreme, but look where it is now. And here's all the people that made it happen. You know, this isn't, so the book is called Go-Go Speaks, not Jill Speaks. This is Go-Go Speaks, the heartbeat of a culture, because I talked to everybody that wanted to participate at the time, really. And, if they didn't want to, I went back and grabbed old interviews that they had already done where I already had the quotes, and you just hear from everybody how go-go music got from the inception to where it is, kind of to this day. I definitely talk about Northeast Groovers and Backyard in here, but that's where it kind of ends. In the book, that's where the book kind of ends. So those were all really, really important. That was such an important time for the music.
So Jill, what would you say? Jill, what would you say to a fellow go-go loving fan? What can they do to help preserve and leave a legacy for this music? Because we can all do this together. What would you say to another fan, like yourself? Also, because I'm a fan, even though I was in the bands, I'm a fan too. So what would you say to?
I mean, we're all fans, right? Or we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. So I would just tell people really to expose the kids and, maybe turn somebody on to go-go that doesn't know about go-go. Like I remember, so I went to Cuba. I've been to Cuba twice. And when I was in Havana, Cuba, we went to this music school and they had congas and stuff like that. And so I played a little bit of Chuck Brown because I guess I had an iPod with me at the time. And then there's this long stretch where everybody hangs out. It's called the Malecon. And it's right by the water. It's like a wall, but everybody's like hanging out by the wall. Some people are out there vending, selling stuff. So my friend and she and I played go-go for anybody who would stop and listen. Because you have to understand, so Cuban music, the Afro beat kind of music and go-go are very similar when it comes to percussion. And, they use percussion and congas to talk just like we do. So, in go-go. So that was, what can you do to keep it alive? Turn people onto it that may not know.
So Jill, quick question. Do you have kids?
I do not.
You don't have no kids?
No
so
kids.
I had a very interesting question because, did you get any pushback from this book from folks?
Pushback. So that's an interesting question. So my mother passed away several years ago, and it was very difficult to be who I am. It's not difficult to be who I am, but it was difficult to be her daughter being who I am. I remember the first time I was published in Word Up, I guess. I was in New York. My grandparents lived in New York on my dad's side. And I went to New York and I heard that the magazine was dropping that day or whatever. So I went up to the newsstand and bought every single copy because I was so excited. I'm like, I got to buy all of them. So I bought all of them and I come back home to DC. I'm like, Mom, look, I'm in here. I wrote in this magazine. And she just was kind of like, oh, I'm not going to read it because I wouldn't find it interesting. It doesn't have anything to do with me. Meaning, why is she going to read about a bunch of Black people? You know what I'm saying? So it was very difficult. because she grew up in the South, and I'm not making excuses. This is who she was. And I think she would be proud of this book. I would hope that she would be proud of this book, but I can't say for sure.
Right.
So in terms of pushback, that was my biggest adversary and pushback.
Hey, Jill, on that note, you know, both of my kids are biracial, you know. Cultures. You just spoke about a culture, though, basically. Cultures and belief systems. That was a barrier and obstacle obviously you had to deal with. Can you speak on some of the things you did to overcome those barriers and obstacles?
I always stayed true to who I am. And, you know, my mother grew up in the South in a time of segregation. So she didn't know any Black people except for the lady who came to clean the house. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. Like, I don't want to say I can't blame her, but I just learned to move around that. And to be honest, I think that's what makes me, I would say that I'm pretty humble. You know, people are always like, oh, it's so great. Don't you know you did this, that, and the other? And I'm just like, oh, okay. Because I feel like I never really got to enjoy it because I had to kind of keep a lid on it. You know what I mean? Because any boastfulness or anything like that, you know, would be met with maybe some negativity. And I didn't want that. I wanted to just do what I was doing. And gogo was just that important to me, really. Wow, I didn't know I was going to be asked questions like this, so I'm sorry. I just, you know,
well, yeah, we're not trying to disturb you. I mean,
you're not at all.
We just want to get the people to know who Jill Greenleigh is in reference to this great book that you wrote. Like I said, I haven't read it yet, but I've seen the reviews. I read the reviews, and I'm getting ready to get a copy of the book so I can read it for myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, but like I said, the reviews are very good on Amazon. So, you know, it's very interesting.
And, you know, and I'll say this to say that, you know, sometimes I see things when people talk about my book and then other people in the group on Facebook will realize that I'm white. Why did she write a book? You know, what does she know? You know what I mean? Because they don't know. And what I want to definitely say is that there are white friends of gogo. There are white people that have kept this on the track and pushed this down the track, you know, and put gogo above a lot of other things that they could be doing because they are advocates for this music. They believe in the music. They believe in the people. And believe that it's something that's worthwhile.
We can stand and look